Because you were only considered an apostle like Paul and like Peter and like other people at the time. You were only considered an apostle if you had a vision of Jesus, not if you actually met Jesus in real life or anything like that. In fact,
yeah, he was saying that Paul doesn't qualify or constitute apostle. I don't understand. How does that work? How does he determine that?
you couldn't have any information originating from earth or from people. It all had to come from the celestial realm, from Jesus himself. That was the only way you had authority to speak on Christian theology at the time.
All right, he's saying that Paul had no justification to be an apostle or an inspired man of God outside of a supposed encounter with Jesus. Now,
what in the fuck are you talking about, Praise? I literally said that Paul was an apostle. I mean, can you not fucking just listen to the video that you're watching? Or is that like too much to ask of you? You know, I'm beginning to think you're the brainless one in this stream.
It depends on what the definition of an apostle. Because if an apostle is that you had a direct encounter with Jesus, then him saying he has no way of being proven apostle except for his experience with Jesus. And then it's like, well, that's the definition of being an apostle. It's like, it's just a talk. I mean, it's like, I don't get his point. So like,
oh, it's almost like that wasn't the argument I was fucking making. Also, an experience of Jesus is not the same thing as speaking to Jesus before he died.
Well, you know, I get this a lot with non-believers on, like, for example, miracles. They'll say miracles can't be an explanation because they are so improbable. And I go, so miracles are improbable? That's the definition of a miracle, basically, is that it's an event that doesn't typically happen. Like, if it happened all the time, it wouldn't be called a miracle. It'd just be called a regular occurrence. And I love it when non-believers go, well, miracles can't be the explanation because they don't happen very often or they're improbable. It's like, you just define what a miracle is and then say it can't happen. Like, whatever.
Miracles aren't evidence because up to this point, all miracles have either been proven to be false or have been unable to be verified. So yes, the incredibly low probability that miracles actually happen, disregard them as evidence, but that low probability can be overcome by massive amounts of evidence that show that miracles actually happen. I like how a little bit ago you were calling Richard Carrier a fringe crazy lunatic that has no credence whatsoever, and now you're claiming miracles as evidence. That's just fascinating to me.
What I'm about to say, I have to give credit to Gary Habermas. He's done a lot of work in this. And what he's done is he has dug around, done some research, found thousands of different scholars and sources in English, French, and German dating back to 1975. And what he found is virtually all scholars, Christian and skeptic alike, agree upon a certain number of facts.
Okay, so before he gets into the facts here, I would like to show how this is the start of the argument from authority. Now, a lot of people are confused by the argument from authority.
now, okay, so here's my objection to this. Now, what's the difference between this and peer review? Peer review, they come up with their consensuses, and they are valid to Godless Engineer. He accepts the consensus.
Do you know what fucking peer review is? Because I don't think you do. Peer review does not develop a consensus. It means that somebody other than yourself has looked over your work and has verified that you're not claiming purple elephants rain from the sky, or some other really ridiculous claim. I do accept some scholarly consensus out there, but only because I've examined the evidence and I have agreed with the conclusions that they made. But I also don't think that you have to go that in depth into any particular subject in order to believe the consensus of any expert. I think it's perfectly fine for people to believe in the consensus, because normally a consensus is built upon massive amount of evidence that would prove the conclusion of the consensus to be true. But sadly, this is not what we find when we start to look at Christian history. But I would say that if you're going to argue for a position, then just citing the consensus is not an argument. Because a lot of people mistake it for the argument from false authority. That would be somebody that has authority in one field and gives an opinion on another field, and then somebody uses that opinion to prove their point. That would be an argument from false authority. But an argument from authority is mainly just citing the authorities that they all agree on this. It's a lot like the bandwagon fallacy. If all you're going to do is cite the fact that scholars all agree on these facts, then that doesn't mean that these facts are actually facts. You have to actually give evidence for those facts being facts.
All right.
You can't just say...
All right. So, first of all, an argument from authority is only a fallacy when that authority that you cite is not an authority. Like, if you cite an authority and say, well, the people who study this stuff, they agree with this, that's not a fallacy from authority. That's just citing the authorities.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the argument from authority fallacy page here, and it seems to indicate that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You see, he doesn't want to admit that because he's a mythicist. His view is the opposite. His view is the opposite of an appeal to an authority. It's appeal to the fallacy of authority every time, because none of his views are held by the authorities.
So, wait, the authorities don't prove something to be true, but they definitely prove something to be false? How does that make any kind of fucking sense? Also, that could be turned around on you in multiple different ways, so I really don't know if you want to get yourself in that particular pickle. And I don't hold that position because I'm a mythicist. God damn, why do you fuckers always have to say that shit? How about instead of just inventing motivations for me, you actually listen to what the fuck I'm saying to you?